What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast. It's your boy CP here with another episode on the Mets Hot Stove Update Trail. We have some news coming out of Mets land. Obviously, I've been on travel for the last couple of days. So now the podcast is going to be back on the regular scheduled programming. I'll be talking about the Mets Brewers trade that went down yesterday, giving my thoughts and opinions and why this was a clear win for the New York Mets for this 2024 roster and beyond. Before going into this video, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The channel's almost at 300 subscribers. I want to get there before the end of the year. I thoroughly appreciate the support in doing so. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. Comment your thoughts and opinions, and make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Every single thumbs up counts more than you all know. Hit that thumbs up to support the podcast, and make sure you follow me on all my social medias at CPNYSPORTS to get your latest podcast updates as well as more Mets talk. Without further ado, let's get into some New York Mets baseball. All right, let's get into it. I love this team so much. I am recording this at 2 a.m. Like I said, I just got back from travel, and one of the first things I did, minus eat, was open up my laptop, make these graphics, and start to record this episode, which will be releasing here in the next couple of hours in the morning. Obviously, by this time, you all know what the parameters of the trade are between the Mets and the Brewers. The Mets receive right-handed pitcher Adrian Hauser as well as outfielder Tyrone Taylor in exchange for former Mets minor league prospect right-handed pitcher Coleman Crow. Before we get into Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor and the type of players that they are and where they slide into the 2024 Mets and beyond, let's talk a little bit about Coleman Crow. Had his season cut short in 2023, underwent Tommy John surgery on that throwing elbow. Hopefully he's back in no time for the Brewers. Obviously, no longer a New York Met. Came over in the Eduardo Escobar trade along with Landon Marceau for Eduardo Escobar from the Los Angeles Angels, and what was one of the first moves of the Mets offloading the 2023 roster at that trade deadline. So shout out Billy Epler and Steve Cohen, basically cutting ties with that Mets roster that was going basically nowhere and getting these sort of depth piece talent minor league prospects that now the Mets have full capability and full flexibility to sort of flip to fill in and backfill the 2024 New York Mets roster. So Coleman Crow, a guy that has pretty good upside, is not going to overpower you. He's 6 foot 175, fastball that touches 94, 95, but likes to sit there in the lower 90s with insane run and movement on his fastball. Throws about 91 to 93 on average, has about 16 to 18 inches of vertical movement on his fastball, which makes him basically elude bats. That's the best way that I can put it. And that is his upside. Should he make it to the MLB soon and have success, that will be his upside. Location of his pitches and the run on his fastball to go along with a pretty decent curveball as well. So that's Coleman Crow. Wish him nothing but the best in the Brewers organization. Let's talk about Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor. Adrian Hauser, as you can see on the screen here, 21 starts. That should say starts. Like I said, it is late. I apologize. Please forgive me for any typos or any fumbling of my words. I needed to get this video done and out there for tomorrow morning. And I'm just coming back from travel. I'm a little bit jet lagged. So 8-5 win-loss record for Hauser in 2023 and posted just north of a 4 ERA at 4.12 in 111 innings pitched just about. Adrian Hauser is not a guy that's going to wow you. Let's not get it twisted for what it is. None of these guys, neither of these two guys are going to wow you. These guys are strictly depth pieces for the New York Mets. Hauser has a potential to be that sixth starter right behind Luis Severino in the rotation, but everything is TBD up until the Mets basically show us what they're going to do at the front of the rotation. We'll keep an eye out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We've been talking about him on this channel, and everybody's been talking about him within the Mets fan base until we're blue in the face. Until he makes a decision. So a lot of work to do in the front of the rotation, and we'll see where guys like Adrian Hauser and Joey Lucchesi stack up in the back end of that sort of rotation. But one thing's for sure, two things are for certain. Guys like Jose Buto, although he had a great showing in 2023 in the latter end, and guys like Denny Reyes no longer need to be called up out of the whim to start for the New York Mets in 2024. Those days are behind us. We have Joey Lucchesi back, and now Adrian Hauser, another reinforcement to go in at the back end of the rotation. Now, Hauser is also a guy that's not going to wow you with his fastball. He's going to wow you in the sense that he has some pretty good run on his fastball, but he's not a guy that's going to overpower you with it. His K percentage is pretty low. His whiff percentage is pretty low. But he does induce a lot of ground balls, and that is thanks to that movement on the fastball, just like we talked about with Coleman Crow. So keep an eye on that as it pertains to Adrian Hauser, and we'll monitor how he fits in to this rotation in 2024. Tyrone Taylor being acquired alongside Hauser in the Coleman Crow deal is pretty interesting. A guy like Michael A. Taylor, I think he stacks up pretty comparably with. And Michael A. Taylor had heavy links to the New York Mets this MLB free agency. I pretty much think they're one and the same player, both offensively and defensively. Both Michael A. Taylor and Tyrone Taylor are really strong defenders in the outfield, and they're versatile in that they can play each outfield position. So, what you would have gotten defensively from Michael A. Taylor, you now get from Tyrone Taylor. This trade is a trade that kills two birds with one stone. I always love to say that saying, and that is truly the case here with the New York Mets filling in the back end of the rotation and that fourth outfield spot for Tyrone Taylor. He's going to provide immediate competition to DJ Stewart for that fourth outfield spot. As you can tell here, 81 games for Taylor in 2023, hit 234 with 10 home runs. Slugging percentage was great. The K rate was down. Michael A. Taylor's K rate's at about 29.1, and you get a lower K rate here with Tyrone Taylor at 23.1 there as it pertains to the K rate. Now, it is another typo on the screen. His OPS is 713, not his slugging. His slugging is 446, like I just said. That's not going to wow you by any means. That is, you're hoping goes, in the northward direction in 2024. But like I said, when you're asking a guy to be that sort of depth piece in the outfield for you, we all know that the Mets still have this glaring need for an everyday starting left fielder. They didn't aggressively pursue Young Hoo Lee like the Giants did, giving him a 6-year, $113 million deal. And a guy like Tyrone Taylor is not expected and is not going to be expected to be your starting everyday left fielder. He is going to be providing that depth piece for you, especially when you have a guy like DJ Stewart that you decided to tender, but are still probably a little bit shaky on because he did have an impressive stretch there. But do we really have the full sample size to make DJ Stewart that viable option for the fourth outfielder spot without a little bit of competition at least? So that's what Tyrone Taylor provides you. Taylor has some sneaky pop with his bat. Hit 17 home runs in 2022. I believe was also with the Milwaukee Brewers at that point as well. So he has some sneaky pop, which is always great for the Mets to get in this lineup. We've been talking about it nonstop ever since about midway through the season that this team just needs pop. And honestly, even before midway in the 2023 season, all the way back to 2022, when the Mets were playing small ball. Not that I'm saying small ball is a bad way to go about games at the major league level. All I'm saying is to keep up with the run production of other teams, the Mets need power, and Tyrone Taylor has power. Absolutely. So, like I said, A strong outfielder, has a very strong arm. According to Baseball Savant, had great arm strength metrics in 2023. So let's keep an eye out on that, because that's always a plus when you can add a great arm alongside Brandon Nimmo there in left field, because we all know Brandon Nimmo struggles with his arm, especially out there in center field. Maybe having Marte with a great arm and Taylor with a great arm there in the corner outfield spots is something that the Mets can play around with in 2024 and beyond. So, like I said, short video, just wanted to sort of introduce you all to these guys coming over for the Mets in 2024 and beyond. I want to know what you all have to think. This is sort of a trade that went down, and it was very under the radar. I kind of had to do a double take at my screen when I saw this trade go through and the reports come through that this trade was finalized. It's weird. The dynamic between the Mets and the Brewers is weird. A lot of people talking about Corbin Burns and the potential reunion with David Stearns. I don't think that's going to happen in 2024 for a multitude of reasons, but also just the sort of relationship and the weirdness, that awkwardness that might be persisting there between the Mets and the Brewers. But that did not hinder, obviously, a trade like this to go down. Like I said, officially, it is Coleman Crow going over to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for right-hander Adrian Hauser, Tyrone Taylor. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. Like I said, this is not a sexy trade. This is not going to wow the doom and gloom Mets fans on Twitter that are wanting the Mets to get everyone and anybody, and pretty much are upset that the Mets are not spending the way that they want the Mets to spend and have spent in the last couple of seasons in the offseason. It's not going to be that kind of trade, but Hauser and Taylor will have immediate impacts in 2024. I can bet your bottom dollar about that, because these type of guys are needed to alleviate pressure, especially if there are injuries there at those respective position groups. These type of guys can alleviate that sort of pressure over a course of 162 games. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner, hover over my icon, subscribe to the channel, get me to 300 subscribers. I thoroughly appreciate it. X and Instagram accounts are at CPNYSPORTS, the same thing as my YouTube handle. Hit that notifications button to notify when I go live or when I drop a pre-recorded episode just like this one on the channel. I'll be going live on the channel tomorrow with Talking Mets with Rob, a little bit of an extended Mets hot stove session, talking more about this trade, talking more about, obviously, Yamamoto. We can't get enough of the Yamamoto talk, talking about everything Mets. So make sure you're tuning into that later on in the evening tomorrow on December 21st. I hope you all enjoyed this video. We'll continue to analyze this offseason and how it progresses for the Mets. Until next video, let's go Mets. It's your boy CP, and this was another episode of the True Mets Talk podcast. See ya. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.